Okay, so it is a beautiful day in Athens, Greece. I have not been able to drink beverages now without lime and lemon in them. Like, it's really an experience and a change of your life when you start putting lime and lemon in your drink. You can't go back. You know what I'm saying? So lime and lemon in everything. I'm on a keto diet / carnivore diet, which I've slowly weaned myself onto over the past 3-4 months now. Pretty much 90% carnivore with some carbohydrates here and there. But now it's pretty much full-on carnivore. Well, it is full-on carnivore. Well, I guess it's not full-on carnivore. It's full-on keto, but it's mainly carnivore, right? But yeah, look, with that being said, my body just works better on a ketogenic, carnivore-focused diet. So that means I'm eating like 4 to 6 eggs a day, either steak or chicken, usually, for dinner with some vegetables. It's pretty easy because, the Greek diet actually is pretty much keto if you take away the bread. And the bread part is just the worst part about the Greek diet, I think. I mean, a lot of people will wake up, have a koulouri, the circle bread things. They'll wake up and have a spanakopita. I fucking love spanakopita, they feel it. Oh, spanakopita. Spanakopita is my Achilles heel. I could eat a spanakopita from anywhere, right? My mum made a ridiculously good spanakopita, very thick inside part, right, and thin on the outside, not crunchy usually, but I do love the Grigoris spanakopita. In terms of ranking spanakopita, my mum's obviously is S tier, just excellent. I think Grigoris, it's a fast food joint essentially, but they make bloody great spanakopita. And now I'm not necessarily talking about spanakopita horistiri without cheese, but I like it with or without cheese because the feta is sheep's milk. It's low in lactose. Another win for the carnivore keto diet, right? So that's really good as well. So yeah, no, I bloody love spanakopita. I had a spanakopita in Pagrati, which was very good, very thick on the inside as well, but also crispy on the outside, right? So pretty top tier stuff. Yeah, so spanakopita is kind of the start of the bad part of the diet in terms of the day for Greeks. But then really when you're sitting at a Greek dinner table, lunch table, taverna or something, once they bring that bread, that's where you go wrong. Right? But if you take the bread out of it, a lot of it is keto friendly, is carnivore friendly, right? Just don't eat the bread. Like a lot of the stuff that I eat now is Greek salad, pretty keto friendly because it's high in fat with the olive oil, it's high, low carbs with the tomatoes and the cucumbers. Onions aren't great, but they're pretty okay. And olives are fantastic. So, and feta, same thing, it's great. So Greek salad is good, horta, vlita, spinach basically boiled, really, really good for you and ketogenic. And then meats, no problem, of course. And then what else is there? Souvlaki and daxi, like gyros. I don't eat gyros. Gyros is disgusting. Most Greeks don't eat gyros. That's the garbage street food that tourists eat, to be honest. Like on a normal week for a Greek, they don't eat gyro. You know what I'm saying? Souvlaki is obviously good. Now, if you get into the more elaborate dishes, moussaka, pastitso, yeah, there's a lot of carbohydrates in them. Macaroni, mekima, obviously it's pasta in it, or there's that stuff that goes on the top. You're running into some carnivorous vicissitudes. But yeah, generally speaking, keeping a basic Greek diet, it's pretty good. Fish, of course, is good. So anyway, carnivore and keto diet has been going pretty well. I need to get down from the 83 kilos I'm at now to about 78 in the next 62, 63 days before the Ironman 70.3. And my pushing myself too hard, or what would be a better way to say, more accurate way to say, am I being delusional in my ability, in what I think is my ability to complete an Ironman 70.3? Probably. Is it going to be painful on the day? Probably. But, you know, it is what it is. You got to push yourself. You know, if I don't have a big scary goal, I really find myself just meandering around the city, just being like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. And just lost in life. So I really need a big scary goal to work towards, to be honest, or else I go crazy. Ooh, I need some ice, because you can't have limoni and lime and a bit of Himalayan salt to put in the thing without ice. So, Christo, if you want to just wait 1 sec, or you can cut this bit, it doesn't really make a difference, but I gotta get some ice. Alrighty, and we are back. Now, it's been a while since I've had a really good just setup for my camera and stuff, but I finally found a good setup in my new studio apartment. Well, I guess it's a 1-bed apartment, and I've just converted the whole living room to a studio. Things are good. Things are good in life, in the world of George. I went to London. That was fun. I did a 6 episodes of a podcast with my good friend and previous client and business partner, I guess, Gareth Everard, and we just knocked it out. So that's in the works. But I think the most exciting thing that's kind of happened this past month is my other Instagram account, Moulos, has gone really well. We have, so far, as of today, we have exactly 1,743 followers. And one of our reels, a reel that I did on my first ever podcast, this podcast, was the Roman Emperor tier list, right? And that was about, and then one clip in that was, of course, about Basil II, the Bulgar Slayer, and that's gotten 110,000 views, which is insane. Another one was telling a few stories from my years on Delimonas, where I used to live in Victoria. That got 34,000 views. And since then, I've been doing Roman Emperor every day, as everyone very well knows, because I advertise it everywhere. And it's been going really well. Like, each video gets anywhere from 2 to 20,000 views. Another series we started besides an Emperor every day is Golden Greeks, talking about cool Greeks from history. Now, one of them was Vasily Zacharias, or Basil Zaharov. That got 17,000 views. I did make a piece on the fires that were happening in Athens, in Attica, in Greece. And that only got about 9,000 views. And that kind of sucked, because I want to do more news items. But if I feel like they don't really hit, then I gonna, like, whatever, you know. But look, things are going well in this account. I want to build it up to 180,000 members by the time I finish the Emperors. So 180 Emperors, 180,000 followers. That's how I'm kind of summing it up. But if I've learned anything from the last month and a half or 50 days on Instagrams and YouTubes with all this new content, it's that telling stories is what goes really well. So for this episode, I think I'm just going to tell a few stories. I have a lot of stories, I'll be honest with you. I can just go through kind of like my timeline or photos on Instagram, and I just got a billion stories, you know. So that's what we're going to do. And we'll probably, Christos, who is my great Greek editor, he'll edit this up and put it onto Instagram, and we'll see how that goes. Like, this is what's interesting with business, right? You can just be yourself, talk about whatever you want in a free and open environment, clip it, put it on Instagram, and you can end up getting, I don't know, we're probably at 250,000 views now within the first month. Talking about history, I've always loved history, always. But I always felt that history was not something that could be monetized very well. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to be an archaeologist, right? Like when I was like 6 or 7, because all I would do every day, my mum would I would go to the school library, Sylvania Heights Public School in the Shire in Sydney, and you'd be able to borrow on a Thursday 2 books, max, right, for the week. And my mum on weekends, on Sunday, would go to Southgate Shopping Centre, and there was a council, like a government library underneath Southgate in the car park, and you'd be able to borrow 2 books. So I borrowed 2 books from the library, borrowed 2 books from the other library, and I'd read the 4 books over the week, right? And it was always history or war, right? And that's really where my love of history began. You know, it wasn't, the funny thing was, my mom, I'm an internet entrepreneur, and I owe my life to the internet, honestly. That's why I always say the internet is goated. My mom we didn't really have, I wasn't like an internet kid, funnily enough. I had a computer in my room, in my bedroom, that's because my mom's office was in my bedroom, right? My mom would be tapping away at the calculator as she's doing her accounting work for my uncle, and I'd be sleeping there, just fucking like, oh my God, I can't sleep. But my mom, funny little story, my mom would play on my CD player radio, just like the 70s, 80s, and 90s classics on Radio Hit Point 22.5 or whatever channel was on. And I would go to bed listening to like 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s music, right? And it was so embedded in my subconscious that that would have been like 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, maybe even 14, 15. And then when I was 18 and 19, and I was doing some work for a company called Schoolies.com, right, through my marketing agency, Moulos Media, in Brisbane, I was on Spotify. I'm like, you know what, let's listen to some of the 70s, 80s, and 90s music. I never listened to that. I listened to it. When I tell you I knew every single word, and I didn't know how, it blew my mind. And I told my mom, she's like, yeah, it's because you used to listen to it every night. I said, you used to listen to it every night. I had to listen to it every night, right? But yeah, we had a family computer in my room, and I guess that's where my love affair with the internet began, you know. But of course, it was a piece of shit computer. It was like a Dell big box Malakia. And if I think about it, how lucky I was to be in the room with the computer, because my sister and I, we used to share a room, and we didn't want the computer in my room because then you have no space, right? And then I ended up having it in my room, which sucked, which then became a good thing. Anyway, so even though it was a piece of shit computer, it meant that I could go on the internet when my mum wasn't there, right? And I played video games, Minecraft, Skyrim, but it was a piece of shit computer, so you couldn't survive Skyrim, right? So then eventually I built my own computer, and that could survive it. Skyrim, Assassin's Creed, horror games, a bunch of stuff. And then I eventually sold the computer after maybe it was a year or 2. I'm like, I gotta make some money here. What am I doing playing video games? I gotta get my life together at like 13. And then just worked on the business every day. Marketing agency, Facebook groups, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it all started from that little shit computer in Sylvania Waters. But my love of history started much earlier, much earlier. I remember even reading the Encyclopedia Britannica that we had on the bookshelf at home, thinking like, holy shit, there's so much I don't know. And again, I always talk about this, but the adventure of learning history is such a cool thing, you know. And even going to London last week or the week before, whenever it is such a cool thing, because like so many cities in Europe are Roman, start as Roman military forts. Let's count them up. Rome doesn't count. Well, I guess it does count. Rome, Vienna, Budapest, Diocletian's Palace, whatever that place is, Split, Barcelona, Mediolanum, or Mediolanum I guess doesn't count since it's in Italy, Milan, Paris, and the rest. Like, it's crazy to think, you really don't get that many new cities in Western Europe, because they were usually Roman, right? And Londinium is a great example of that. So yeah, it's always cool to go to London, check that out. I did a comedy set there. I did a quick 5 minutes, but I just performed terribly, and I bombed, which sucked. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, my friend. I really bombed badly, and that's a tough thing with stand-up comedy. I feel like I never let myself do very well, because even if I do well, I'm like, it could have been better. But when I bomb, and I accept my bombing. So you get all of the lows and none of the highs. I don't really enjoy the process of stand-up much sometimes, which is not a good thing. But I do have a regular spot now at this comedy club, Theatre of the No in Athens, every Thursday, even though they usually get like less than 10 audience members. It is what it is, and we will see. I'll just keep performing and try and enjoy it more. But yeah, so London was fun. I got to see my good mate Ross. I did that podcast with Gareth. And now I also just went on a road trip with my friend Milsey from Athens on our way to Lefkada. And we went back. And the first city we went to on the way to Lefkada was Elefsina. Now Elefsina is just on the other mountain range, on the other side of the mountain range, to the west of Athens. And a lot of people don't go there, or you miss it. Like me, for 26 years basically, because I would just drive from Athens to Corinth or to Sparti, right? Or to Patra, and you skip Elefsina. So I finally said, you know what, we're not driving past it, let's go into Elefsina. And it's a beautiful ancient city. The city now is a piece of garbage, because it's just, the whole thing is basically an oil refinery. Sorry, but it's true. So yeah, the city now is a garbage dump, or just an oil refinery. But the ancient city, you could see how beautiful it was. It was built around this one acropolis, of course, into the mountain, into the hill. Yeah, really gorgeous, and you can see how it just kind of patrolled the straits between the mainland and Salamis, and then the whole on one side, and the whole plateau, what would you call it, the valley of Elefsina. Really great strategic city, obviously overshadowed by that little town on the other side of the mountains, Athens. But yeah, it was really fun to see that, finally, tick that off my list. Then we went past, not into Megara. Of course, I showed my friend the Corinth Canal. And then we drove all the way to Poco Poco, this little beach bar near Patra, near the Rio something bridge, that big bridge, which is always a cool thing to go over. And then we went to Naupactus, which I've been meaning to go to. Tiny little town that has a lot of history in the naval world. Famous battle between Athens and Sparta. Sparta should have beaten the Athenians at this naval battle, but the Athenians are the Athenians. They're like the British. They just barely ever lose a naval battle. They're just too damn good, right? And that's what happened there in the Peloponnesian War. And then, of course, the battle of I don't know if you guys know this battle, right? This is a good little clip for Instagram, Christos. So you cut this clip. there's this battle. This is probably the most famous. This is the coolest naval battle in Greek, maybe all of Mediterranean history. This battle was the final battle ever fought with triremes, right? Think about that, right? The Battle of Lepanto, right? Now, back to how cool history is and the adventure of learning history. The Battle of Lepanto happened in October 7, 1571. This is like 80 years after Columbus has found America, right? So Columbus has already found America, and they were still using triremes, right? Now there were galleys, there were galleasses from the Republic of Venice. There were 109 galleys and 6 galleasses from the Republic of Venice. So Venice was leading this thing, right? But they were also allied with the Spanish Empire, who had 49 galleys, 27 galleys from the Republic of Genoa. And I hear you ask, George, you're telling me that Genoa and Venice were on the same side? You're goddamn right, because everyone came together to defeat the Ottoman Turks, except for those traitorous French who allied with the Turks. The French. But anyway, so 49 galleys from Spain, 27 galleys from Genoa, 7 galleys from the Papal States, 5 galleys from the Order of St. Stephen and the Grand Duchy of Tuscany, 3 galleys from the Duchy of Savoy, 3 galleys from the Knights of Malta, and some private ships. John of Austria, half-brother of Philip II of Spain, who was named by Pope Pius V as overall commander of the fleet and led the entire Centre Division, right? And Venetian Sebastiano Venier, right? So the leader of this massive battle, right? The Holy League, it was the Holy League, Venice, the Spanish, including the Kingdom of Naples, Sicily, Sardinia, Duchy of Parma, the Republic of Genoa, the Duchy of Savoy, the Duchy of Tuscany, Order of St. John, the Papal States, and Greek rebels, don't forget, all against the Ottoman Empire. This was led by the Venetian Doge, right? His name was Sebastiano Venier, right? You want to hear something crazy? This guy had descendants, had previous family that moved to a little island called Kythera. And their name today is called Veneris, right? And they in my family tree. So I have a tiny bit of the same DNA and blood as the guy who led the Holy League to battle with the Ottoman Turks at the Battle of Lepanto. Another cool thing, while I was just living my normal life in Barcelona, I look up at the streets and I, like many historians, look at a name and say, that sounds familiar. Lepanto, Carrer de Lepanto? ¿Qué es eso? All right? I asked myself, what is that? Why is a street called Street Lepanto Road, right? And that was named after this battle. You just bump into history if you know where to look and if you read it. Anyway, so this Holy League, right? In 1570, they're like the Spanish, the Venetians, the Genoese, and a bunch of other allies, and the Greek rebels. They said, we need to defeat the Ottoman Turks in a naval battle because they're going to expand and conquer our damn cities and everything, right? Now, in the history of naval warfare, Lepanto marks the last major engagement in the Western world to be fought almost entirely between rowing vessels, namely galleys and galleasses, which were direct descendants of the ancient trireme warships. This is essentially the last breath of an ancient naval battle. To use rowing ships in a battle is so old school, right? And this is happening in 1571, 80 years after the Portuguese and the Spanish have already found South America, right? So it's a crazy old school type of battle, right? Now let's talk about the strengths, right? The Holy League has 65,000 men, 30,000 sailors and oarsmen, and 35,000 soldiers. 206 galleys and 6 galleasses, right? The Ottoman Turks, on the other hand, led by Ali Pasha, 67,000 men, 37,000 soldiers and oarsmen, which were mainly slaves, and 30,000 soldiers. Now this battle happened near Nafbaktus, where I went in the last few days, but more near to Patra, right? Now, this battle has been compared to Salamis, where essentially the Ottoman Turks attacked from east to west, and the Holy League attacked from west to east. Now, essentially what happened was, in terms of the order of the battle, and this is why they compare it to the Battle of Salamis, the wind was in the favor of the Ottoman Turks. It was filling their sails, right? Plus oarsmen, all the slave oarsmen. A lot of them were Greek slave oarsmen under the ships of the Ottoman Turks. They are being pushed, i.e., they have more power behind their sails and behind the ship to smash into the Holy League, and so their basically formation is branching out in a crescent formation, I believe. So let's read into here. Shortly before contact, the wind shifted to the Christians' favor, enabling most of the squadrons to reach their assigned position before contact. Four galleasses stationed in front of the Christian battle line opened fire at close quarters at the foremost Turkish galleys, confusing the battle array in the crucial moment of contact. Around noon, first contact was made around the squadrons of Barbarigo and Sirocco, close to the northern shore of the Gulf. Barbarigo had attempted to stay so close to the shore to prevent Sirocco from surrounding him, but Sirocco, knowing the depth of the water, managed to still insert galleys between Barbarigo's line and the coast. In the ensuing melee, the ships came so close to each other as to form an almost continuous platform of hand-to-hand fighting, which both leaders were killed. Nice. The Christian galleys slaves freed from the Turkish ships were supplied with arms to join the fighting, turning the battle in favor of the Christian side. Are you listening? So you're telling me the Turks are attacking from east to west, the Christians are attacking from west to east, the Holy League, right? And all the men who are on the ships of the Holy League, the ones rowing it, are free men. They are not slaves. On the other hand, all the men that are rowing and are the oarsmen, the 30,000 sailors and oarsmen under the ships powering the Ottoman vessels, are usually, most of them, Greek slaves. They're in Greece and they are Greek slaves pulling and oaring the ships of Ottoman vessels, right? Now, the wind is initially in the Ottomans' favor, but then it's in the Christians' favor, and they start to win the battle. And as the Christian forces, the Holy League forces, get onto these ships of the Ottoman Turks, they go down. Imagine this, right? Imagine how awesome this seems. Imagine this is a movie. Some Italian Venetian who comes down to the galleys and looks underneath and sees 400 Greek slaves rowing, and they're like, boys, you ready to go? You ready to go? Then he takes their shackles off and the Greek slave's like, what? It's like, here's a sword. Go kill all the Turks on this ship. Thanks. Right? How cool would that scene be? Just to see Greek slaves just, I imagine also like 300, were just shredded, come up with a sword, and just see the Turks be like, oh shit, and just start hacking away, right? And that's exactly what happened. The Christian galley slaves freed from the Turkish ships were supplied with arms and joined in the fighting, turning the battle in favor of the Christian side. So there was like 65,000, 67,000, right? Now that the Christians are liberating the slaves under the ships and giving them arms, now it's basically 95,000 against 30,000, right? Now, there's a lot more detail, of course, but the aftermath was this. It was obviously a Holy League victory. On the Holy League side, there were 7,500 to 10,000 killed, with 15,000 wounded. It was a close battle. It wasn't like a complete win, right? And 13 galleys sunk or destroyed. 20,000 to 25,000 on the Ottoman side were killed. heavy losses considering there were only 30,000 soldiers. So 20,000 to 25,000 killed soldiers means the vast majority of them. 117 galleys captured out of how many ships? Out of 222 galleys and 56 galiots, right? 20 galiots captured and 50 galleys and galiots sunk or destroyed. 15,000 Christian slaves killed. This is the cool part about it, right? Like I said, 65,000 original soldiers and oarsmen on the Holy League side, plus 15,000 freed Greek slaves, Christian slaves, just put the numbers in their favor, right? Now, that's the story of the Battle of Lepanto. And that's why, of course, the Spanish Empire and the Venetian Empire came together, and even Genoa, Savoy, Tuscany, the Papal States, which in the Italian wars would cut each other up a billion times over like 70 years and really change allegiance 100 times. That's why there is a road in Barcelona called Lepanto. And almost every Italian city, there's a place called Lepanto. And I assume there's probably heaps of streets in many cities in Greece called Lepanto. Because this was the first sign, one of the first signs that the Ottoman Empire could be stopped. Because at this point, they're conquering well into the Balkans, well into Austria-Hungary, and they are just, Europe is just super scared of them, right? Now, in terms of how much it actually affected the Turks, let's be honest, it didn't really. They are going from strength to strength at this point, and I believe the leader of the Ottoman Empire at the time said something to the effect of, "Look, it's like you snipped a bit off my beard. I don't really give a shit." And it's kind of true. And to be fair, the Holy League did not capitalize on this victory. They could have said, "You know what? Great, we just won all this massive battle. Let's liberate, I don't know, Greece." You're right there. You're right in Greece. I believe at the time Venice probably owned the Peloponnese, but like, why not push for a independent Greece, right? Do your little Latin Empire, Fourth Crusade Malakia, there and then. But no, they didn't do that, so they didn't follow up on it. So really, the Ottomans lost all these men and slaves, but nothing changed. They didn't expand any further in the Mediterranean, but they didn't move forward any further in terms of the navy, and Venice maintained their dominance of the Mediterranean navy-wise, right? But it's just a cool Battle of Lepanto, and just think of that scene of Greek slaves being freed from Ottoman galleys to then be given a sword to then attack the Turks. Oh, bellissimo. So there's a little story for you, little Instagram reelable clip. Yeah, so that's a cool little story. I'm sure we'll see that on Instagram now. I don't know how I got distracted. I don't even know what I was talking about previously, but I do love that story. So I went to Nafpaktos. So you would have been able to see parts of that battle happening at Nafpaktos back in 1571, October 7th. But Nafpaktos today is just a small little town, cute little Greek town, nothing much going on. Cute little Venetian harbour with a castle on the hill. It's castle like the castrum, castle on the hill, then long walls down to steep walls down to the tiny harbour. Nice little place though. But I wanted to go there so I could, see really where the Battle of Nafpaktos during the Peloponnesian War and the Battle of Lepanto during the Turkish-Venetian Wars happened. So very cool to go there. And then I went to Missolonghi, just went through it to again be at the place where a famous Greek battle happened. Of course, the siege of Missolonghi, which we lost, but we gave a good fight during the Greek independence wars, and then Lefkada, which was a Venetian town, but it's been destroyed so many times you didn't really see any history there. So it was a good relaxation weekend, and now we're back in Athens. Tuesday. And yeah, towards the end of this month is my birthday, so I'm taking the boys for from the e-commerce brokers team and the George Moulos team to some historical sites. I'm going to run around Greece a bit more before September, when we lock into winter grind mode. For me, starts in September. So yeah, that's kind of my life update. But yeah, that's what I've been up to. Now, in terms of stories to tell, I thought I'd spend the rest of this podcast just honestly talking about some stories. Since one, that's what goes well on Instagram and YouTube. And two, that's also what people said they want to hear. So let's tell some stories. I think the best way to do that is literally just go to my old clips and old Instagram pictures, what are they called? Posts, and just go through them. So yeah, let's go back in time. I'm just scrolling through my Instagram page of George Moulos Official, my first Instagram, and let's see if we can tell some stories. You want to hear a crazy story? I went on a date with a Greek girl called Vicky. Beautiful girl, smart girl, very, very intelligent. She loved to have a debate. And I love to debate as well. So we debated about philosophy and all this stuff. And we had a good first date, right? We just drank gin tonics the whole time. And then this is as COVID is finishing, because I had to be on a quarantine for COVID. And the day she came to the bar was like the last day of my quarantine, right? She didn't give a fuck about the quarantine. But the next day, I was like, I want to do something special because I've been quarantined in Spain for 3 months. I've done quarantine here for 3 days in Athens. And I've always wanted to go to the Corinth Canal and bungee jump. So I text Vicky, I'm like, hey Vicky, I know we've only had 1 date, but do you want to go bungee jumping? And she's like, you're bullshitting. I'm like, come bungee jumping, I'm serious. She's like, are you for real? I'm like, yeah, let's go bungee jumping. And then the next day we caught a train to Corinth, and we went to the Corinth Canal, and we went bungee jumping for a second date. So that was fun. And I remember thinking as I was jumping, Christo, make sure you put the video from my Instagram behind me saying this, but I remember as I'm jumping, like, my girl's watching, so I can't react, right? So I was just like this. I didn't want to yell or anything. Oh my God. No, I was like this. Right, I'm just a soldier, right? So yeah, pretty fun little story. But then I went to ancient Corinth, that's right. I went to Loutraki, it was pretty cool. But anyway, what are the stories that we have here? We hadn't started yet. So after a month, after the 5th day of working at this startup fintech company in the middle of Sydney City, it was like a real job. I was like, I'm bored. I'm going to start my own business. So I started some side business that by the 30th day was making a couple $100 a day. And I remember, because I'd never had a credit card before, because you need a job to have a credit card, I applied the first day I got the job. And by the 30th day I got the job, 30th day at the job, my credit card was approved. So on the 30th day, I remember my girlfriend at the time drove me to work. I get there, it's like the 31st day, 30th day, and I see that I was the admin on the Facebook group. I see that I was removed, right? Now I know when I'm about to get fired. What am I, dumb? I know when I'm about to get fired. So I walked, and the same day, like I saw that notification from Facebook, then I saw that I got approved for the credit card. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get fired. Might as well get the fuck out of here. So I go into the boss's office. His name was Guy something. I go, look, I'm getting fired. He's like, what? I'm like, I'm getting fired, right? He's like, let's talk about this later. I go, I'm getting fired, right? I'm like, here's your key card. Hey, you owe me, a severance package of a month, so I'll be expecting that. Anyway, latest, I went home. I was living with Jared at the time, my mentor. I was like, bro, what do I do? He goes, what do you want to do? I go, I want to travel to Europe. And then I just sold all of my furniture. I got my credit card and I left. Got my severance package and I took a flight to Frankfurt. Yeah, Frankfurt. And then I made my first vlog. I think I made my first vlog while I was unemployed. The week or two when I went to Palm Beach. And yeah, like talk about like, it's so weird to look back on your journey. And the funny thing is I'm 25 now. I'm turning 26 in 7 days. But I feel old. And look, I've lived a lot. I have lived a lot of life in my few years. And it's kind of hard to fathom sometimes about all that has happened and even process it. It's kind of hard to process stuff. I'm looking at a picture now of a post from February 24, 2018 of me and my friends Nick, Rufus and Thomas Prantazis. And this was the day I left Australia, which is 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago, which is crazy, And it's, look, I don't know anybody who voluntarily left their home city, their friend group, their country, and the hemisphere, the continent, to never return, and that's what I did. And these were my friends, since we went to primary school together, we went to Greek school together, we played at the same soccer team. But I knew that I needed to do more with my life. And that I had this adventurous, thing in me that I just wanted to explore and learn. And I knew that sitting was too constricting for what I wanted to do. So I had to get out, And I was making some money from that little side business, plus some other side businesses. I was like, fuck it, let's take a risk. So I had that last going away party, and surprise, surprise, I was wearing a black 15 € Zara shirt there, and that's what I'm wearing today. Some things never change. And I said goodbye to my mates, never to return. And then here we are, March 3rd, 2018, Frankfurt, Germany. I remember I landed and I didn't realize how cold it was, because I'd been to Europe before, but only to Italy and Greece in summer. So I'm like, it's going to be the same as Australia. Freezing, immediately freezing. And then I went to Hohenzollern Castle. The Kaisers and the kings of the German state and Prussia were from Hohenzollern. So that was my first hit of history. And yeah, then I just started doing basically a new city every single week or every 3 days. I went to Lucerne. I went to Milan. I went to Milan and it was a disaster. I didn't organize the right hotel or hostel or whatever. I went to Florence. And I vlogged every single day for 90 days. Like, I'm really made a vlog every bloody day. I went to Venice and I stayed on a yacht in Venice, which was lit. And I didn't even know about the Greek Quarter or anything, and it's basically where I stayed. But yeah, I would go to every city and I would join self-development groups and I say, hey, I have a camera. Whoever wants free photos for Facebook or Instagram, whatever, I'm happy to make them for you. So then 20, 30 people would show up and they'd be like, yeah, let's, and then they would basically show me the city and I would take photos for them. And it was just a great way to make friends. And then see the city. And then at the end, they're like, dude, these pictures are lit. I'm just watching my old vlogs as I'm doing this, and it's so stupid. Jesus Christ. What a malaka. Hey man, you can't say I didn't try. I always try. I always try to do something new and different. But yeah, I forgot what I was saying. But Budapest was dope. I met a girl in Budapest, of course, which I posted her on my Instagram. This is wild. I did not know that. This is a girl that I would end up falling in love with. It was my first love. Which is wild. It's always weird when you look at your old posts, but especially when you have to go through all your old memories. But hey, you got to tell these stories and reflect. I mean, it's my birthday soon. This is going to be the, probably the last podcast before my birthday, so it's good to reflect. And I swear I'm having like a quarter life crisis. So it's good to reflect. But yeah, that girl I ended up dating was like my first love. And you know what? It's funny because, like I said, I left Australia wanting more out of life and wanting to explore. And that's the great thing about travel, You travel to explore and learn about other things other than yourself. But the most valuable thing when you travel is learning about yourself. Because you only really learn about yourself when you put yourself into new environments, into new situations. So if all you do, like most Australians, is go to the pub every weekend, that's not a new environment. That's not anything new. You don't see yourself around anyone new, around new environments and new challenging situations. Like I said, you only really know who you are when you're put into challenging situations. You see what you're made of, and I traveled, I worked hard, and I found love, And the first question I always ask when someone says they fell in love is, how'd you meet him? I remember I went out with some of the friends from that self-development group that I took photos with, and he's like, we went to like 4 or 5 clubs, and I was talking to girls and I got rejected by all of them all night. I was having a terrible night. And then I went to this club called Otkert, which is near the Basilica of Saint Michael? Not Michael. A saint. The Basilica in Budapest. And I went to this club called Otkert, and I was talking to some girls there, like 3 or 4 girls, and it just all went terrible. I got rejected. I was feeling terrible. I was there with a guy called Aaron Shaw. And he's like, dude, let's go into the smoking area one more time before we leave. I'm like, I don't want to go. Just let's go home. I feel terrible. And he's like, fuck that. So we went to the smoking area. There's 3, 4 girls. I'm like, hey, what's up? And she's like, no hablo inglés, in Hungarian. I don't speak English. I'm like, who here speaks English? To the whole group. And one girl's like, me. I was like, you. Come over here. I took her hand. I'm like, okay, so what's your name? I remember she said that I looked like Daniel Ricciardo, the Australian Formula 1 driver. I don't know how, but sure. I think I'm really just a wog with an Australian accent. That's what she thought. But yeah, got her number. There was immediately chemistry, and then we dated on and off for a couple of years, long distance. And then it didn't work out for many reasons. And yeah, hope she's happy now. Cool girl. And that was Budapest, which was like a big, unplanned, good thing that happened during my travels. Then I went on to Berlin, Austria, Vienna. Vienna was dope. And then I went to Berlin, which was cool history-wise, of course. Someone who's a fan of World War II, it was like insane. And then I went to Hamburg, Amsterdam, Barcelona. And that's when my love affair with Barcelona started. Yeah, Barcelona was just, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I just loved it so much. I was like, cities can be this cool. Sydney as a cultural centre is not cool. It's a beach. That's it. Like, there's no culture there, to be honest. Sorry, but man, Barcelona is just this explosion, because Barcelona is not just the city of Spain. It's the city of Catalonia, and it's also the gateway for all of Latin and Central America to come to Europe. So you see so many Argentinians and Colombians and Venezuelans and Peruvians and Chileans and Mexicans, and they all come here to Barcelona. So you just have amazing food, amazing vibe, especially in spring and autumn, and not in the heat of the peak of summer. So it was great, and that's why I've been there every year since. Literally. Yeah. And then I went to Quito, which was a travesty. It was not good. And then I went to Australia, I think for 2-3 months, and then temporarily then left again for good. Never went back. And then I went to Bali for 7 months, waiting to have my recruiting job go well, and then like every job I start, it didn't go well, and then I went back to having my own business, and of course it went well. Even though it took many years, came back to Athens, went to Kalavrita for my cousin's wedding, and then I went to Italy, and then I went to Slovenia, and then back to Budapest to see that same girl, and then to Athens again at the start of 2020. And that's when I really just like locked the fuck in for e-commerce brokers in my current main business. And then that focus only took like 2 or 3 months of serious focus to really go well. So yeah, so you know, that's kind of the where the vlog started, where my YouTube channel started, where my public profile started, let's say. And then ever since 2020, it's really just been the story of Athens for me, like the Athenian period in my life. Because I've just been in and out of Athens, basically. I mean, in 2018 and 2019, I was also in Athens. But since 2020, it was more of a home and base. Even though now my base technically is Cyprus, the Cypriot period era for me started in 2021. But it still feels like Athens is my base. My heart is definitely in Athens. And it's been that period of my life, the Athenian period, that's done well for me. It's funny because I was born and raised in Australia, but I made myself in Athens, in Victoria, in a Yasbandilimonas, living with my cousin. And that's why this city just hits different for me. It's like a come-up city. If you can make it in New York, that's good. But, you know, it's not as hard because there's other people making it in New York. There's other people trying in New York. If you make it in Athens, if you make it in Greece, you're going against the grain, because people here don't even want to succeed. Being successful is almost seen as a bad thing, like you're greedy. What's wrong with you? You're not happy enough? How dare you think you're better than anyone? Like, if you make it here, you really can make it bloody anywhere. So yeah, and then of course COVID happened, which was like for me, amazing. Besides all the deaths, it was a great period for me because of e-commerce blew up, which meant my business blew up and did very well. I traveled while everyone else was sick. Flights were cheap, accommodation was cheap. Went to Mexico, America, bundle, went to like 30 countries. And then slowly, things kind of picked up, you know, in my world. And ever since, you know, money and success has slowly come my way, the only thing that I have done or changed, is I have been to more historical sites. I've been to more museums. That's it. That's all that has changed. That's all I wanted to do ever since I business-wise, if I just had the minimum amount to live, a very simple life, Greek, Spartan, laconic life, with my main necessities paid for, it wouldn't actually matter to me. The game of entrepreneurship for me is about creating and building, and I love to create and build. And then it's about winning and competitiveness in a specific field. And also just doing a good job. I like a good job. I like a job well done. And I was kind of not worried. I was interested to see how I would react to money. Because so much of my identity was the struggling artist or struggling entrepreneur, and seeing how and just being in a life of suffering financially. And when that was no longer the case, I was like, how am I going to act? And then when it happened, I was like, months went by, weeks, months, days, weeks, months went by. I was like, I worked just as hard. I don't have as much money stress. Now, the money stress wasn't, am I going to have enough money to survive? It was, I don't want to lose the money I have. But to be honest, I got over that within a few months. I was like, money comes, money goes. Like, just keep doing good work, you're going to get paid. Honestly, that was all my thinking was. And then after maybe a year of doing financially well by my own measurement, I just started this, my own podcast, and doing more content and doing more creative things that have business potential nonetheless. But like being myself. I think that's all money really does, is it shows people's true character. If they were an asshole before, they're more of an asshole after. I don't know why I said that in a New York accent, a terrible New York accent, but yeah. So for me, it's been quite a journey, looking back on 26 years of life. But I have to say, like, I think looking back on these years, like a lot of young men who aren't where they want to be, I was very angry for these periods of time, because I wasn't where I wanted to be, and I was angry at myself and also then the world for not being where I want to be in life, success-wise, financially, whatever the reason. And maybe you're angry at the world, but you only really have yourself to blame. And maybe I still have that, but to be honest, I feel like I'm at peace now. I'm at peace with life and my work ethic and my risk appetite and risk-taking ability. I know that I'm considered a man of integrity by my clients and my friends, that they know I'm a good friend. They know I'm someone they can rely on. So yeah, it's a good place to be by 26. The fact that people consider me a good man, that's always been my goal. So yeah, Another thing I wanted to do is to do an update to my Roman Emperor tier list, because we are up to day 31 or 32 of doing a Roman Emperor every day. So I wanted to go through and give an update to my previous entries. Now that what the fuck? Sorry, I was just looking at someone else's tier list and they put Basil II in like mediocre. So I'm going to record my screen. So Christo, you can put this screen recording in the background behind me here. And then we can make a bunch of reels for this. So, Roman Emperor tier list, take 2. So we have our tiers here. Now, obviously, I'm going to put Augustus in excellent. Now, for more than just one reason, I'm going to put Augustus in excellent, right? One, he pulled everything together, but also he did a good job of not just being a military tactician, not strategist. Of course, Agrippa, his military man, his general, was the strategist, right? Augustus wasn't there on the front lines, he wasn't there commanding. But as a tactician overall, Augustus militarily was great. One, he had the intelligence to put Agrippa in place and not be scared that he was going to take the throne, take the purple off him. Smart. To lead and to give someone the power to win is smart, like what Justinian did with Belisarius and Narses, right? So yeah, Augustus militarily was great. In terms of politics, he was one of the best. Again, to have to deal with the Senate and to deal with the triumvirate and eventually win over Mark Antony was a tough feat, right? The empire at the time wasn't even an empire, it was a republic, right? It was a mess. No one knew kind of where everything went after the death of Julius Caesar. And he had to contend with that. And then as all this is happening, also other big changes are happening. New provinces are being made and created, senatorial provinces. Egypt came into the fold as his personal asset. So all these things are coming. And he, after all the turmoil of the early part of his career, he then stabilized the empire in many different ways. He had extensive building programs. As Augustus famously said, he found Rome a city of brick, and then he left it a city of marble. And that speaks to all of the things that he built. And you can still see in Rome today, like I've seen, the mausoleum of Augustus, and that beautiful marble square thing that talks about the, it's like the timeline or something, like a famous list or something, right next to the mausoleum. I forget what it's called now. But it's a beautiful thing and it's in like mint condition. And I will tell you what it is because it is bugging me. Show me Rome. Show me Augustus's mausoleum. I don't need to be shown where the mausoleum is because I know it off by heart. It is just down from here. Where is it? Augustus's mausoleum. Maybe I do need it. Google it. Mausoleo. Where is it? Oh, it was further up. Yeah, so there's Augustus's mausoleum, then the Museo de Areopagus Museum. So I went here. You can so you can use the clip of me in this place, the Areopagus, which means something peace. The Artabakis Augustae, altar of Augustan peace, commonly shortened to Artabakis, is an altar in Rome dedicated to the Pax Romana. The monument was commissioned by the Roman Senate to honor the return of Augustus to Rome after 3 years in Hispania and Gaul, and consecrated on January 30th, 9 BC. Originally located in the northern outskirts of Rome, a Roman mile from the boundary of Pomerium, in the west side of the Via Flamia. The Artabakis stood at the northeastern corner of the Campus Martius, the former floodplain of the Tiber River, and gradually became buried under 4 meters of silt. Wow, cool. Mint condition. Look how perfectly preserved it is. So, without further ado, play the music. Without further ado, we must play the music, and we need to rank Augustus. Now, let's play the music, my friend. Let's see it, buddy. Okay. But I mean, like, he's the OG. He is the OG. He started the empire. He's the first emperor. Obviously, he's going to be an excellent, right? I barely put anyone in excellent, really, but he was excellent. Yeah, I mean, what more needs to be said about Augustus? Now let's quickly run through all the other ones. Tiberius, Malacca, right? Because he didn't do anything. He didn't even want to even be in power. Caligula, terrible. Claudius, I think he was okay, but he built some shit, you know. That was basically it. Agrippina Minor, I don't know why you're here. Nero is interesting because he did a lot of bad shit, but a lot of that could be propaganda, and a lot of people go back and forth as to whether that was true or not. But I still think he was bad. The question is not whether he's good or bad, the question is whether he was terrible or bad. But I'm going to put him in terrible because, yeah. Galba, I think he was just old and died super. I think he only reigned for like 2-3 years. So I'll put him in mediocre because he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything good. You know? Otho was a fat malaka, so put him in bad. Vitellius was another fat malaka, so put him in bad. Vespasian, of course, was pretty dope. So let's put him in good. He deserves to be in good. He built stuff. He was a general. He brought some peace and stability. Good. His son, on the other hand, wasn't as good, but he was decent. You know, he had some good military campaigns. Domitian, a lot of people say Domitian is terrible and that he did a lot of this and that. But again, I think that comes back to the Senate hating him because he took a lot of the Senate's power. So I'm going to put him in poor, right? Yeah, I'm going to put him in poor. Nerva, okay. Now, Nerva was the first of the 5 good emperors, but he only lived for a small period of time. But he did start the period of the 5 good emperors. So I'm going to reserve excellent for really, really fucking good. Great for really, really, really good. And good for good. So Nerva was good. I don't know if any of that just made sense, but I really don't rank many people, emperors, in excellent. So Nerva was good. Trajan. Now, is Trajan excellent or is he great? Look, I'm going to say that Trajan was great. And a lot of you are going to take issue with that, right? But I'll tell you why. I think that he was great because he received a good empire, he left a marginally better empire. And I say marginally better because I don't necessarily think that the empire was better purely because it had Dacia and Mesopotamia. Hadrian would later let go of Dacia and Mesopotamia. The building campaigns, of course, that was good. But starting building campaigns isn't the hard part. Building the stuff is hard. And the engineers did that. The Greek engineer built Trajan's bridge and the column and all this stuff were built by others, right? Trajan was also a good military commander. That's what I like about the guy. He's cool for that. But at the end of the day, is he excellent like Augustus and Basil II? No. No, he's not. He's not in the same realm of doing hard things and excellent things and amazing things, right? He's no Alexander the Great. You know, he's not in that crazy department of you really did something crazy and changed the way the world was. The world wasn't one way before Trajan and now it's another. It was good before and it's marginally better later. You know what I mean? So that's why he's in great. On the other hand, well, not on the other hand, again, Hadrian for the same reason. Let's rank Hadrian. Play the music. Send it. Now you're going to hear me, you're probably saying, Hadrian and Marcus Aurelius, are you crazy? How are they not excellent, right? The world was one way before they were in power, pretty good, in other words, and then it was marginally better after they were in power. They didn't do anything crazy. As an emperor, to do something excellent, I'm talking about Alexander the Great conquering the Persian Empire. Right? I'm talking about Napoleon saving the First Republic or whatever the hell it was called of France, saving France and then conquering most bloody Europe. It was something that dramatically changed the world. Trajan, after Nerva, didn't dramatically change the world. It was marginally better after him, right? He, in my opinion, overextended the empire with expanding into Dacia and expanding into Mesopotamia, only for Hadrian to, a couple years later, pull back from these regions for the most part. Dacia, in my opinion, should have been suppressed and, you know, whatever, do your winning of battles there, but not have the empire extended that far, right? I think it cost more than it brought in, right? Marcus Aurelius, the same thing. I mean, Hadrian and Trajan and Aurelius, these three of the five good emperors, and even Lucius Verus, who didn't reign as long and wasn't the main emperor under even, because he was co-emperor with Marcus Aurelius. The five good emperors and Antoninus Pius, they built a lot of good stuff. They did a lot of good civil and statesmanship work. And they defended the borders. They kept things as good as they were and made it marginally better. The same with Trajan. But nothing extraordinary happened. They maintained a good thing. They did their bloody job as emperor, right? Augustus created the empire, right? He started the empire. He changed the way. The world was one way before Augustus, and it was a different way after. The world was one way before Alexander the Great, and it was one way after. The world was one way before Napoleon, and it was one way after. The world was one way before Basil II, and it was a different world for Rome after, right? That's why I put Basil II in excellent, for example. Commodus, Malak, terrible. Pertinax, bad. Didius Julianus, bad. Bersenius Niger, terrible, bad. I don't remember who the hell that was. Claudius Albinus was bad, I believe. Septimius Severus was good. Building program, stability, blah, blah, blah. Geta was bad. Caracalla was poor. Like, he had some good military programs. Well, Geta died as a baby, so what can you do? Macrinus was poor. Elagabalus was terrible. Severus Alexander. Now, holy shit. Now, I need to say something about Severus Alexander. Play the music.
Severus Alexander must be one of the most underrated emperors, okay? I don't know what it is. Maybe it was a crisis of the 3rd century. Maybe everyone's distracted by Iranians, restoration of the world a couple years later. But Severus Alexander spent a decent amount of time defending the borders, getting the empire into a stable state, putting the right generals in the right places. Of course, it fell apart, but he did a good job for a reasonable amount of time. And if you look at the next few emperors that were good, a lot of them started their careers under Severus Alexander. And I believe that was Decius, no, not Decius, I think it was Valerian, Aurelian, and Probus. Probus is somewhere here. But anyway, Severus Alexander was massively underrated because his reign actually lasted a decent amount of time, right? It lasted 13 years, right? And I think he did quite well. I mean, he started as a kid, but he did quite well. He was the longest reign of a sole emperor since Antoninus Pius. Wow. Right? Pretty impressive. He was also the second youngest sole Roman emperor of the United Empire after Gordon III. Gordon III died in like 6 minutes. So he's the real youngest Roman emperor in my books. Alexander's peacetime reign was prosperous. Rome was military confronted with the rising Sassanid Empire and growing incursions from tribes of Germania. He managed to check the spread of the Sassanids. That's awesome, dude. But when campaigning against Germanic tribes, Alexander attempted to increase by engaging diplomacy and bribery. This alienated many of the Roman army, leading to a conspiracy resulting in his assassination. But he did a decent job of keeping the peace for 13 years. And sure, his busts look terrible and he has a shit beard, but he did a decent job for the time that he was in power. So I'm not going to shit on him. I'm going to rank him at good. Yep, good. He brought stability in a time where stability was a very foreign concept. So yeah, Thras was a Malacca. Gordian was a Malacca. His son, maybe worse. Papinus was... There was a Malacca too. Balbinus, he became them Mazid and Malaccas. Gordian III, again, all bad. Philip the Arab was... You know why I don't like Philip the Arab? Because he did, as soon as someone who was it? Decius said that he was going to go to take the throne, Philip was like, oh, all right, I guess. No, Decius. Maybe it was someone else, maybe it was Philip II. But Philip the Arab gave up straight away. So yeah, I gave up. In the Senate, he needed to convince Decius. In the Senate, he needed to convince him to stay on. Like, at least, if you're going to be a scumbag emperor, at least be a scumbag emperor, you know, and hold on to it. Don't give up straight away. Decius is a backstabbing, cunning loser. I think he was dead. Decius, I think he was good. Well, he was good, but he wasn't as bad as others. Valerian, obviously, Paul, that put him bad. Salonius, don't even remember him. Galenius, he was the governor of Moesia, but I think he died early anyway. Claudius II, he was a good general. So what you want was a good general. Someone putting mediocre even though it was crazy and everyone was killing each other. Quintillus, poor. Now, we get to our next major player. Play the music. You know what, that ain't the song. Let me find another one. Ooh, I love this song. But yeah, so who are we talking about? Of course, we're talking about Aurelian, right? Now, this is what we're talking about. Aurelian is goated. And I've changed my opinion about Aurelian. I used to think he was just great. But in light of further research, we're going to rank him, yes, even me, even I consider him excellent. Better than Trajan, better than Hadrian, better than Marcus Aurelius. And I hear you asking, George, what makes him better than Trajan? Because Trajan got a good empire, made him marginally better. Aurelian got a fucked empire. It was falling apart. Palmyran Empire, Malakia, happening in the Levant and Egypt. Like, that was its own separate state by then, right? All of Gaul and Spain were separate. Like, the empire for real was falling apart, right? And then step by step, he actually brought it together again. And it wasn't just through military battles. It was through diplomacy. It was through politics. It was through all the things that make a good emperor. How long was he now? Only 5 years. However, he did a lot of things in a crazy short period of time. And don't forget, he also built, like a lot of the best emperors, he also built the Aurelian Walls. How many more years would go by, and how many times would Rome be put on a siege where they were kept safe by the Aurelian Walls? How many times? Someone count that for me. Put in the comment section, right? Because these Aurelian Walls saved Rome more times than you can remember, my friend, than I can remember. So he started with the Gallic Empire in France and England, and rogue bands of Germanic tribes tracing around the empire, the Palmyran Empire in the southeast, and he defeated them one by one. And it wasn't easy, right? Step by step, he did restore the world, right? He brought in many political reforms, many agricultural reforms, but he did die early. But how many more years did he extend the empire, or extend the connected Roman world? Probably decades, probably 100 years. He deserves his name as the restorer of the world, right? And that's what he is. He is the restorer of the world. That's why he deserves his place in excellence. Then, of course, we have a lot of shitty 3rd century emperors. Now, a lot of these are garbage. Florian, Malacca. Probus actually wasn't that bad. I'll put him mediocre. Carus, I think he was Malacca. Numerian, Malacca. Gallien was Malacca. Diocletian obviously was pretty decent, but we have too much time to dive into because my battery on my camera is falling apart. Maximian was actually pretty good, so I put him in mediocre. Constantinos Chlorus, is he Constantine's dad? No, anyway, I can't remember. But I know for a fact that he wasn't excellent. Valerius Severus was poor. I think he was bad, actually. Let me put that in the right place. Domitius Alexander, Paul Galerius, he did all that dope thing in Thessaloniki, so I respect him for that. Maxentius, I don't remember what the fuck he did. Maximinus died, I don't remember. Licinius, his most famous thing was dying at the hands of... Play the music! What song shall we pick for this one? Let's put the best. Let's play, my friend. Now, a lot of people have a lot of things to say about Constantine the Great, but let's be honest, he's goated. So let's put him where he belongs, guys. And you feel me first. Yep, we're putting him in great. Now, I know a lot of people are going to take issue with that. I love Constantine the Great. Like, Constantine Magnus is great, but is he excellent? Let's talk about it. I'm open to conversation, okay? Now, obviously, he brought the empire back from being divided, right? He defeated Licinius, he defeated the other dude. Is he a good general? Yes, but how many battles did he really fight, right? He defeated Maximian, I believe it was first. Yeah, and then, of course, converted the empire to Christianity, which was that something that was inevitable? I don't know. Am I biased because I'm Christian, Orthodox? Probably. But if I'm trying to be fair, he wasn't the world. You know what? Maybe he is excellent. If I'm using the thing, was the world one way before and now he's in a difficult world after? Holy shit, he does belong in excellent. He does belong in excellent. I just realized I've been wrong this whole time. He is excellent. Oh shit, I've been wrong. He's excellent. He's excellent. Okay, he's excellent. Fair enough. He's dope. Fuck. I've been wrong this whole time. He defeated the Maximian, Maxentius. Milvian Bridge. I actually have his coin. I have Constantine's and his son's coins in copper only, but I do like them. And of course, he converted the world into Christianity. He later campaigned in Constantine's Bridge. Where's that? I was over there. In reconquering Dacia. Proposed that under Aurelian in late winter 3032. Campaigning with some nations against Gospel, like a food report daily. Look, moving the capital to Byzantium, Constantinople, was a genius move, man. It's a go-to move. Starting the building of said Constantinople. Of course, it's go-to, bro. So you know what? I do believe that he's excellent. I actually have a picture with the man himself. Let me find it for you because it is a goated photo. I went to visit the man, the myth, legend, and of course he was dope. But yeah, you know what? I'm glad I corrected myself. That's me with Constantine. And I'm not trying to make any illusions, but I kind of look like him. At least I have the same nose, right? So yeah, anyway, I'm going to wrap this podcast up there. Do a bunch of clips for Instagram. I'm going to edit into clips. These for Instagram.